had very smooth pregnancies, labor and delivery with my 2 babies in my advanced maternal age years. Now at almost 40, I gave birth to this big baby boy, 4 kilos, with no tearing, no epidural, in just 1 hour. And I also have a 2.5 years old whom I gave birth to when I was 37. And today I would like to share, or rather overshare with you, all the things that I did to have a smooth pregnancy, especially being heavily pregnant, and also to have a smooth labor and birth. Nothing that I did is crazy. They are quite commonsensical. But I'm so excited about this second birth that I had that was so easy, and I would really like to help many women out there feel more confident about having a natural birth. As a matter of fact, after I had this baby, when I went to the midwives, I thought that they would ask me all the things that I did to have such a smooth birth with him and no tearing, no nothing. But they didn't ask me anything, and I even prepared for them a checklist so that they didn't forget anything. But yeah, they didn't ask, so I was rather disappointed. And actually, one of the reasons why I'm making this video and I started this channel was to share my experiences and the simple things that I did to have a very smooth birth, and how I prepared mentally and physically to go into labor and delivery. All of these steps are in chronological order from the beginning of the pregnancy towards late pregnancy, so that they are easier to be followed. Okay, number 1, physical exercise all throughout my pregnancy. It's undeniable that it's very important to move our bodies no matter of the stage in life we're in. And I've been exercising for about 10 years or so, since my early 30s. And I kept my exercise routine all throughout my pregnancy as well, obviously with some variations, in order to protect my bump. Obviously, it's a bit more challenging when you also have a toddler around and a full-time job and a long commute like I do, but it's definitely doable. As I like saying, where there is a will, there is a way. If you read about it, if you haven't done any exercise before getting pregnant, it's actually recommended that you start now exercising. Obviously nothing crazy, mostly walks and body weight exercises, but it's very important to move our bodies. Why? Because we need to get strong in order to be able to support the growing belly. The back, the upper back and the lower back, they suffer a lot. Not only that, but it's recommended that we create a bit more pelvic mobility in order for the baby to have more wiggle room when they come out of the birth canal. Like this baby, 4 kilos coming out of the birth canal, I assume it wasn't quite easy, but the fact that I did lots of stretches all throughout my pregnancy. Also, exercises and stretches help with pelvic girdle pain as well, and I suffered with this in both of my pregnancies, and it was quite debilitating at times. So definitely stretches and exercises helped me quite a lot. I'm planning on coming back with an episode dedicated to the exercises that helped me particularly, and I'm talking here mostly about upper back, lower back, and the stretches that I did. So be on the lookout for that episode. Number 2, since we're talking about physical exercise, we can't ignore posture. Posture is very, very important. Usually, obviously, but especially when we are pregnant, in order to allow the baby to position itself properly in the womb. So no slouching whenever we're sitting on the chair. We should keep ourselves as straight as possible. Number 3 on my list, pregnancy meditations, hypnobirthing, visualizations. These sort of things help me quite a lot, especially to prepare my mind, to prepare mentally for birth and meeting my baby and connecting to the baby in the womb, and also to relax in order to have a better sleep. As a person who normally struggles with sleep, falling asleep and then staying asleep, obviously during pregnancy you have to go multiple times to the toilet, and then sometimes it's challenging to fall asleep again. So listening to these meditations and doing the breathing exercises, the hypnobirthing, help a lot. And actually my first pregnancy was the happiest that I had ever been in my life. And I think it was because I was doing these hypnobirthing and meditations, the guided meditations, and I was listening to them even multiple times a day, but especially before bed. And they would just send me off to sleep, and it was really good. And obviously you also learn the breathing techniques that are needed during labor and delivery. Although to be fair, I forgot all about the breathing techniques when the serious pain started, the active labor started after my waters broke. But it might not happen to you, and they have the benefit of relaxing your body and mind throughout pregnancy and preparing you for meeting your baby and connecting with the baby in the womb. I'm going to leave a link below to the meditations that I was listening to throughout both of my pregnancies. And they also have meditations for actual birth and for postpartum as well. I really recommend them. Number 4 on my list are Kegels. Probably you have been told that Kegels are recommended all throughout pregnancy in order to strengthen those pelvic floor muscles so that you don't suffer as much after giving birth. So what happened to me in my first pregnancy was that I didn't do them properly. I didn't know how to do them properly. I read technique, but I didn't know how to do them properly. I downloaded an app and I did the exercises as recommended. But when I went to physio after I gave birth, the doctor told me that I wasn't doing them correctly because the squeezes are too fast and you don't have time to apply that maximum effort situation, because you need to apply maximum effort. And also I wasn't relaxing enough. There wasn't enough time to relax when you have to do the fast squeezes according to the app. And I went to physio because I had a prolapse after my first birth. I have another prolapse now after my second birth, but I will come back with an episode dedicated to my postpartum journey where I will talk about my prolapses. So yeah, make sure you do the Kegels correctly. The short squeezes, they need to be short but long enough to be able to apply maximum effort, and you don't need to do an enormous amount of them as long as you apply maximum effort. And obviously you need to increase the reps as you go, but maybe just 1 or 2 every week or so, the same as you would do for hypertrophy when you're trying to increase your muscles. And again, the advice is that you should be able to do these Kegels sitting around the dinner table. But in my opinion, you can't, because when you apply maximum effort, there's a bit of grunting there, trying to squeeze those muscles as efficiently as possible. Okay, number 5 on my list are raspberry leaf tablets. Not tea, because I really didn't have time for tea, especially during my second pregnancy. And I know that the tea is not particularly delicious either, so it was just more convenient for me to get the tablets. And I'm gonna link in the description the tablets that I was ordering from Amazon. And I didn't take a crazy amount of them. I only took the recommended dose, which is 2 per day. Although I know that some women are taking them more towards the end of the pregnancy, but I stuck to the recommended dose. I think at the most I was taking 3 per day. And these are linked to having more efficient and stronger uterine contractions. And I think they contributed to my fast labor with this 1 hour labor, also called the precipitous labor, as I learned afterwards, which is a labor where you give birth in less than 3 hours from where contractions start. And these are naturally derived tablets, and I wasn't concerned about the impact they would have on my pregnancy. Number 6 on my list are perineum stretches from 34 weeks. 34 weeks, now we're moving into our 3rd trimester, so we need to get ready for birth. And in case you didn't know, the perineum is the area between the vagina and the back passage. And that area is very prone to getting torn during birth, and who wants to have tears down there? And for most of us, I think one of the biggest fears during birth is not to get a lot of tearing down there. It's painful, and if we can avoid it even a little bit, or help not having a very serious tear, we need to put in the effort to do these perineal stretches. And I'm gonna leave a video for you with the technique that I followed, nothing crazy. And I was doing these exercises every other day for around 5-6 minutes. For me, what was challenging is to find the right position to be able to do these stretches, because I couldn't really reach, having a big bump. I was using coconut oil as a lubricant, and for me it was more comfortable to do it in 2 positions, and that is on all 4s and then on my side, lying on my side. And basically you need to do these stretches on the perineum with 2 fingers, and then also hold the stretch on both sides for a certain amount of time, for 30 seconds or so, if you can even more. It's not very pleasant, and if you can involve your partner, even better, but mine didn't want to, so I had to do it myself. But the good news is that from 37 weeks I started using the Aniball for my perineal stretches, and this helped me because I didn't have to do these manual perineal stretches all the time. I was alternating with the Aniball exercises, but I'll talk about it in a later step. Number 7 on my list, this is a sweet treat, and these are dates from 36 weeks. And you can eat around 6 to 8 dates per day. And I prefer menstrual dates because they are more meaty, and I'm gonna link for you those that I was ordering from Amazon. And you can actually use them as dessert, and you can spread them throughout the day. I was eating around 2 in the morning, 2 after lunch, and 2 after dinner as a dessert. And I actually started eating them from my 2nd trimester, just because they are delicious. Number 8 for me, also from 36 weeks, is leaning forward. And what I mean by that is literally leaning forward against the chair, the side of your bed, some high surface, in order to, again, allow the baby more room in the belly, in order to position itself optimally for birth. And I was doing this especially before bed. I was kneeling against the side of the bed and leaning forward, and I was just checking my phone or watching my TV series, and especially when the baby is active, so that it just has more room to move around. Number 9, a very important one for me, were the Aniball exercises. What is Aniball? Aniball is an inflatable ball that you literally insert in the vagina, and you inflate it to a certain amount of pumps, and then you practice squeezing the baby out, breathing the baby out. And it did wonders for me, giving birth to this big baby with no tearing. And not only that, but during birth, this muscle memory, the Aniball exercises, were the only thing that I could remember in order to breathe him out. I didn't really remember much about my breathing techniques during those intense pains, but I remembered the Aniball exercises. And I'm gonna come back with a dedicated episode on Aniball so that I can show you what it looks like and approximately what I did for these exercises. Number 10 on my list, again a very important one, are birth ball exercises. And why are they so important? I feel that the birth ball exercises helped enormously with the pelvic mobility and helping the baby's head being positioned properly in the pelvis so as to help kickstart labor as fast as possible, because I wanted to get him out as soon as possible, being so big. And I'm actually talking about all my anxieties during my second pregnancy with him in a video that I'm gonna link here, because he was at risk of shoulder dystocia, and the doctors wanted to induce me earlier, but instead I decided to do everything possible to kickstart labor naturally. And the birth ball exercises was one method of doing so. Just to list some, I was doing a lot of hip circles, figure eights, and lateral movements. Not a lot of bouncing though. Number 11 on my list, Miles circuit. Again, another one to help kickstart labor as soon as possible. It also helps progress labor if you're stuck and it doesn't progress as expected. I was doing this again in order to get this baby out as soon as possible. And because I didn't have time to do a full circuit, I was doing snacks, the so-called snacks. And this Miles circuit is formed of 3 movements, and each of them is meant to last for 30 minutes, which is quite a lot. And I just didn't have time to fit 1 hour and a half, 2 hours in my busy schedule. So I was just doing snacks whenever I could, 5, 10, 15 minutes. And obviously the preferred way is to do the Miles circuit as indicated. But instead of not doing anything, I decided to do something and do these snacks. I'm gonna come back also on this with a dedicated episode on what I did in terms of these Miles circuit movements and how I managed to fit them in my routine. Number 12 on my list is preparing your partner with instructions during labor and birth. And why? Because during labor, you don't have the energy to advocate for yourself. So you need somebody who knows your wishes in order to communicate these to the midwives and the doctors. Funny story is that during my first birth, I actually didn't instruct my then fiancé, now husband, properly, because I told him no matter what, no epidural and no episiotomy. And guess what? I ended up having both. And that was because I was so afraid of episiotomy, and also I didn't want an epidural because I wanted a natural birth. But because things didn't go according to plan and the baby pooped in the belly, I decided then and there on the spot that, okay, I'm gonna most likely end up in the theater anyway, so I might as well have an epidural now and spare myself the pain. And because he knew that I didn't want an epidural, he was like, are you sure you want an epidural? And obviously, I didn't have the energy to explain to him what was going on in my head, and I was just shouting, epidural now. And ideally, we should think about what our wishes are for during birth and account for things that may go not according to plan, and instruct the partners accordingly. With my second birth, my husband knew that I wanted an epidural only if my delivery became high risk. And also, I told him that I wanted to give me a massage, a back massage, in case I had a back labor, just to help with the back labor pain. And also to offer me snacks and drinks just whenever, even if I didn't want them. My bonus item on this list are orgasms. And most of you know that anecdotally they say that sex helps kickstart labor. But the truth is that they don't know exactly if it does help, because okay, orgasms lead to uterine contractions, but they don't know if those uterine contractions actually help kickstart labor. However, it doesn't hurt. It's something hopefully pleasurable. So I would make it a daily practice to have orgasms in those final weeks. So again, not just sex we need to make sure that we have an orgasm as well. An item that is not included on the list, but we can't deny the importance of it, and that is sleep. We need to make sure that we do everything possible to have a decent sleep, a good quality sleep as much as we can, despite the multiple trips to the toilet. And if you have issues with sleep like me, that is even more challenging, especially if you have other children to look after and a job and yes, everything. We need to make sure we have a decent sleep, and I'm gonna come back with an episode dedicated to sleep, not only during pregnancy but in our everyday life, because I think that I finally managed to hit that sweet spot, and I'm gonna share what works for me, and hopefully it might work for you as well. I think it's important to keep in mind that labor is unpredictable, and even if we dream and prepare for our ideal birth, things may not go according to plan. Even if you plan for a natural birth, you might end up having a cesarean or an instrumental delivery like I did with my first. You never know what will happen. But as I like saying, we need to hope for the best and prepare for the worst, so as to avoid being too much disappointed if things don't happen according to plan. As a disclaimer, I did have healthy pregnancies in both of my pregnancies, so all of the items that I listed didn't pose any issues to me. But for example, if you have diabetes or gestational diabetes, dates may not be suitable for you, so it's important to keep these things in mind. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up so that it can reach other future moms who may benefit from the experience that I had. Don't forget to check out the video where I detail how my second birth went with this big baby boy, and I'm gonna leave a link here. See you in the next episode, and don't forget to be kind and grateful.